The night on Mars Colony 12 was wild with dust and thunder, the red storm clouds flashing electric blue above the metal roofs. Ryan Cross was the only one awake in the mining sector, his power station lights flickering as he worked on a broken oxygen converter. He was tired, hungry, and sick of the endless silence that came with living on a planet that never forgave mistakes. Then he heard it, a weak sound, not metal, not wind, but a cry, soft and painful. He froze, listening. The sound came again from outside the airlock. For a moment he thought it was just the wind playing tricks, but something in that tone felt alive. He grabbed his helmet, sealed his suit, and stepped out into the storm. The red sand bit into his visor like knives. His boots sank with each heavy step. He followed the sound through the dark until his flashlight caught something small lying half buried in the dust. It looked like a wounded animal, no bigger than a fox. Its body shimmered faintly with blue light under the storm, and its wings, yes, wings were broken and bent. Ryan crouched down. Feeling pity rise in his chest, he hadn't seen a living creature on Mars in years, not since the colony's terraforming project failed. The poor thing was shaking, barely breathing, and when he touched it, he could feel its skin was warm like human flesh. "Hang in there, little one," he whispered. He lifted the creature carefully into his arms. It made a soft noise, almost like a voice trying to form words that chilled him. But he was already halfway to his outpost, breaking every colony rule by bringing an unidentified life form inside. The airlock hissed as he entered, and Ryan rushed to his med station. He set the creature on the table, cleaning the dirt off its fur. It wasn't fur at all. It was smooth, silver-blue skin that reflected light like glass. Its wounds were deep, and strange veins of light pulsed beneath its surface. He used his repair tools and some medical gel, doing what he could, talking softly like it could hear him. Hours passed. The storm outside began to fade, but inside the room grew eerily quiet. Ryan leaned against the table, exhausted, staring at the creature. It didn't look like anything from the colony's data files. It wasn't from Mars, that much was clear. But where had it come from? Then, without warning, its body jerked, its eyes opened, bright silver like liquid metal, and it gasped for air. Ryan stumbled back, his hand reaching for the stun baton. But the creature didn't move to attack. It only looked at him. Confused, frightened, and weak. "Easy, easy," Ryan said quickly, lowering his weapon. "You're safe. I won't hurt you." The creature blinked slowly, then opened its mouth and a sound came out. Not a growl, not a cry, but a whisper. A single word that froze Ryan where he stood. "Ryan." He felt the blood drain from his face. His name, it had said his name. "How do you—" he began. But the creature collapsed again, unconscious. Ryan stood there for a long moment. His heart pounding, he looked around the lab, at the glowing monitors, the flickering lights, the silent world outside the window. He should report this. He should call command right now. Tell them he found an alien organism. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way it had spoken his name, or the way its body had shivered like it was afraid. He couldn't just hand it over. He moved the creature. No, the being, to a warmer room, wrapping it in a blanket and placing an oxygen filter near it. Its chest rose and fell slowly, glowing faintly beneath the fabric. He sat near it, unable to look away. What was this thing? How did it know him? And why did he feel deep down that this was only the beginning of something far bigger than himself? The next morning, Ryan woke to a strange hum. The lights in his outpost flickered, and when he turned toward the med table, the creature was no longer there. His pulse spiked. He scanned the room and his eyes landed on something impossible. Standing near the control console was a figure, tall, slender, wrapped in silver light. Her hair floated as if underwater, and her skin was the same blue-silver hue as the creature's. Her eyes were bright with recognition. Ryan's hand trembled as he pointed the stun baton at her. Who are you?" She tilted her head, her voice soft but clear. "You saved me, Starborn." Ryan froze. The word meant nothing to him, yet it echoed in his chest like an old memory. Before he could speak again, the power cut out, the screens went black. The airlock alarm began to flash red, and outside, through the reinforced window, Ryan saw lights moving in the storm, metallic shapes scanning the ground, searching. He turned back to the glowing woman, but she was already collapsing again. Her breathing was shallow. Her glow dimming. "Damn it," Ryan muttered, grabbing the oxygen breather and placing it near her face. Her pulse steadied a little, but she was fading fast. He didn't know what she was or what danger followed her. But one thing was clear now. Whoever or whatever was out there was looking for her. And if they found her, they'd kill them both. Ryan looked down at her fragile form and whispered, "I don't know what's going on, but I'm not letting you die." Outside, the scanners drew closer. Red eyes cutting through the storm inside, a human and a breathless alien princess took their first desperate breath together, unaware their fate was already bound. Ryan didn't sleep that night. Every sound from the storm outside made his nerves tighten. The glowing woman, no alien, lay silent on the med table, her breathing soft but uneven. He had seen strange things in his years as a mechanic on Mars Colony 12, but nothing like this. Her presence felt wrong and right at the same time, like she didn't belong in this world, and yet somehow she did. When the first pale light of dawn filtered through the storm clouds, the air in the room shimmered faintly. Ryan blinked and rubbed his eyes. The woman was sitting upright, her silver blue skin glowing softly. Her hair floated slightly like it didn't follow gravity, and her eyes, bright liquid silver, were watching him quietly. Ryan froze. She looked calm, but her gaze carried the weight of something ancient, something royal. "You should not have saved me," she said softly. Her voice was smooth but distant, like wind on metal. Ryan frowned. "You're welcome, I guess," he muttered. "You were dying out there." She tilted her head. "Death would have been easier." That sent a chill down his spine. "You're welcome anyway," he said again. Trying to sound casual, he moved to the console, pretending to check the sensors, but his mind raced. He glanced back at her. "What are you?" She hesitated, looking down at her glowing hands. "My name is Lyra," she said finally. "Princess Lyra of the Serath Empire." Ryan blinked, the words not fully connecting. "Princess?" She nodded slowly. "I was betrayed. My ship was attacked near your colony. I crashed in the storm. My pursuers will come for me." Ryan tried to laugh, but it came out nervous. "Princess, Empire, pursuers, great. Just great." He rubbed his face. "You're saying people are coming to kill you? And maybe me too?" Lyra's gaze was sharp. "They already know you helped me." The drones outside were theirs, as if on cue. The ground trembled slightly. Ryan's console beeped, emotion alert. His heart jumped. He pulled up the scanner feed. A patrol drone hovered near the colony gate, its red light sweeping across the terrain. Searching. Lyra flinched at the sight, her breathing quickening. The faint glow around her skin flickered. She pressed her hand to her chest. Gasping softly, Ryan rushed to her. "Hey, what's wrong?" "My lungs." "The air," she said between breaths. "Your atmosphere. It burns," he realized then. She wasn't just weak. She was suffocating. The human oxygen level was poison to her kind. Without help, she'd die in minutes. Ryan ran to his workshop bench, grabbed spare oxygen filters and wiring, and began building something fast. He had fixed colony breathers 100 times before, but never for an alien. Sweat rolled down his forehead as sparks flew. Come on," he muttered, connecting the pieces when he was done. He brought the small breathing mask to her and fitted it carefully around her face. Lyra gasped as the first flow of filtered air reached her. Her body relaxed slightly, her glow returning. Her silver eyes softened as she looked at him. "You built this for me?" she asked quietly. Ryan shrugged. "I fix things. That's what I do." For a moment she said nothing. Then a strange smile touched her lips. "You are different from what my people said." Ryan frowned. "What did they say?" "That humans destroy what they touch," she whispered. "But you saved what you didn't understand." Ryan felt something tighten in his chest. He wasn't sure if it was pride or confusion. A loud clang interrupted the moment. The sound came from the outer wall, metal striking metal. He froze, checking the motion sensors again. More drones, now 3 of them, approaching fast. "Damn it. They're tracking your energy signature," Ryan said, grabbing his jacket. "We have to move now." Lyra looked weak but stood on her own. Her movements were graceful, almost weightless. Ryan offered his hand, and after a brief pause, she took it. Her skin was cool to the touch, but her grip was strong. They rushed through the service hatch and into the storm tunnels below the outpost. The tunnels were dark, filled with old mining equipment and broken pipes. Their footsteps echoed in the emptiness. "How far can we go?" Lyra asked through the breather mask, her voice muffled but steady. "Far enough to lose them," Ryan said. "There's an old chamber at the end of this tunnel. Nobody goes there anymore." As they walked, the air grew colder. The tunnel lights flickered with their passing. Lyra's glowing skin cast faint blue reflections on the rusted walls. "You risk much for me," she said quietly. "Why?" Ryan didn't answer for a while, then finally said, "Maybe because I'm tired of following rules made by people who stopped caring about life." Lyra looked at him for a long moment, her eyes unreadable. Then she whispered, "There is something about you, human, the way you act." "The way you protect," Ryan smirked, trying to lighten the tension. "Yeah? What do your people call that?" She hesitated before answering. "We call it Starborn." The word sent a strange feeling through him. He didn't know why, but it felt heavy, like a promise. Before he could ask what it meant, a distant hum filled the tunnel, metallic and sharp. The assassin's drones had found the entrance. Red light flooded the walls behind them. Ryan grabbed her hand tighter. "Run!" They sprinted through the tunnel, their shadows stretching behind them. Lyra stumbled once, coughing through the mask. But Ryan pulled her up, refusing to let go. At the tunnel's end, they burst into a vast underground chamber. The walls shimmered faintly with symbols. Ancient, alien, glowing softly in blue. Lyra stopped in shock. Staring at them, her voice trembled. "These ruins, they are Serath." Ryan looked around, breathless. "You mean your people built this?" She nodded slowly, stepping closer to one of the glowing walls. Her hand touched a symbol and the entire chamber lit up with light. Ryan's eyes widened. "What did you just do?" Lyra turned to him, her expression half wonder, half fear. "I just woke the past, and somewhere behind them, deep in the tunnel, came the echoing sound of heavy footsteps. More than drones this time, something bigger, something alive." Ryan took a step back, heart pounding, and whispered, "What the hell have I gotten myself into?" The ground shook under their feet as the sound of approaching machines grew louder. Ryan turned toward the tunnel. Seeing flashes of red light moving closer, Lyra stood frozen, her silver eyes glowing softly in the blue reflection of the ancient chamber. Her hand still rested on the wall, and strange symbols pulsed around her fingers like veins of light. Ryan rushed to her. "We have to move now," he said sharply. She didn't answer, still staring at the carvings. Her voice was distant when she finally spoke. "These ruins belong to my ancestors. They built them long before humans came here. That's great history. Princess, but we're about to have company," Ryan snapped. Pulling her arm gently, Lyra blinked. Coming back to the present, she nodded and moved with him. Her breathing was still weak, but she looked stronger than before. The device Ryan had built for her glowed softly on her face, keeping her alive as they hurried deeper into the ruins. Ryan noticed how the tunnels changed. The rough mining walls gave way to smooth, metallic stone covered in alien markings. The air felt warmer, almost alive. There was a low hum vibrating through the floor like the ruins themselves were waking up. "Where are we going?" Ryan asked, watching his motion tracker blink red. Lyra pointed ahead. "There is a heart chamber, a sanctuary built to protect royal bloodlines if I can reach it." "I might call for help," Ryan frowned. "Help? You mean your people? The same people who tried to kill you?" She looked at him quietly. "Not all Serath are enemies. There are those who still follow the light." He wanted to argue, but there wasn't time. The tunnel behind them erupted as a drone burst through the wall, its red eye glowing bright. Ryan pushed Lyra down just as plasma bolts cut through the air. He fired back with his plasma cutter, the mining tool sparking blue fire. The drone exploded, lighting up the tunnel. Lyra looked at him in surprise. "You fight like a soldier." Ryan smirked. "I'm just a mechanic with good aim." They moved again, turning down another corridor. The hum grew stronger, the light brighter, and ahead they saw an open doorway leading into a circular room filled with floating crystals and alien machines. The floor was covered with carvings shaped like stars and circles. Lyra stepped forward slowly, her eyes wide with emotion. "This is it. The heart of Serath," she whispered. She walked toward the center, where a pillar stood surrounded by glowing orbs. Ryan stayed back, keeping his weapon ready. "Just tell me this thing doesn't explode." "It does not," Lyra said softly, touching the pillar. "But it remembers." When her hand touched the surface, the entire chamber came alive. Blue light shot through the walls, and a holographic figure appeared above the pillar. It was a tall woman made of shimmering light, her features gentle but powerful. "Mother," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. The hologram turned its gaze toward her. "My daughter." "You have returned," Ryan stared in shock. "Wait, is that—" "Yes," Lyra said softly. "My mother, Queen Serana of the Serath." The hologram continued. "If you are seeing this, Lyra, Our empire has fallen to darkness. Your uncle Korvac betrayed us and seeks to rule through fear. But there is hope. The prophecy of the Starborn still lives. Ryan frowned. Starborn again, what does that mean? The hologram's eyes turned toward him as if seeing him. The Starborn is the bridge between our kind and humanity. When the stars fade, he shall rise to unite the dying worlds. Ryan's heart skipped. You're kidding, right? Lyra's eyes met his, her voice low. It is said the Starborn would be human, chosen by fate. To protect both races? Ryan shook his head. No, I'm not chosen for anything. I fix machines, not galaxies. Before she could reply, the floor trembled again. The door behind them blew open as more drones entered, followed by armored Sarath soldiers. Their armor shimmered red, and their leader stepped forward. Tall, menacing, his eyes burning with hate. Lyra's face went pale. Korvac, she whispered. Ryan raised his plasma cutter. That's your uncle? Korvac's voice was deep and cold. You cannot run forever, niece. You shame the blood of our people by standing with a human, Ryan glared. Nice to meet you too. Korvac ignored him, his weapon glowing dark red. The throne belongs to those strong enough to take it. You are weak, Lyra. And your human pet will die with you. Ryan's jaw tightened. Pet? Oh, you're gonna regret that. Before Korvac could react, Ryan grabbed one of his mining grenades and tossed it toward the tunnel wall. The explosion shook the chamber, throwing dust and light everywhere. He grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward a side passage. Move! They ran as plasma fire tore through the air. The ceiling cracked and pieces of the ruins fell around them. Ryan pushed Lyra ahead, shielding her from debris. She stumbled but kept running, her glowing eyes full of tears and determination. Ryan, she said between breaths, why do you help me? Because someone has to stand up to people like him, he shouted. And I hate bullies. They reached a narrow corridor leading upward, but before they could climb, the floor behind them collapsed. Lyra screamed as Ryan grabbed her arm and pulled her to safety. Below them, Korvac shouted, his voice echoing, You cannot escape me, princess. I will burn your Starborn alive. Ryan clenched his teeth and pulled her up the slope. He talks too much. They finally reached an exit that opened into the surface. The storm had weakened, red dust swirling under a pale sun. Lyra looked exhausted, her skin fading to a dull silver. Ryan helped her onto the rocks and looked back at the ruins. We need to hide, they'll be back. Lyra nodded weakly, her voice almost a whisper. You have awakened something. Ryan Cross. The prophecy was true. The Starborn has returned. Ryan looked at her, confused and breathless. If I really am this Starborn thing, then I guess the galaxy's in trouble. Lyra smiled faintly. Or saved, she whispered before her eyes closed and she fell unconscious in his arms. Ryan looked at the horizon, the storm clearing above them, and for the first time in his life, the wind howled over the broken rocks of Mars as Ryan carried Lyra back toward the old mining ridge. Her body felt lighter than before, as if the air around her had lost its weight. The breather mask still worked. Glowing faint blue against her face, her eyes were half open, filled with quiet pain but also determination. They reached the hidden shelter carved beneath the ridge. Ryan set her down gently on a metal bench and checked the air filters. The hum of the storm outside faded slowly, leaving only the sound of their breathing. You should rest, Ryan said, voice low. You're still hurt? Lyra shook her head weakly. No time, she whispered. Korvac will not stop. He believes the prophecy makes you his enemy. Ryan gave a tired laugh. I still don't even understand what that prophecy means. She turned her silver eyes toward him. You are called Starborn. The word is ancient. It means one who carries light where none remains. My people believe one day a human would rise and restore balance between us. Ryan frowned. So, you're saying I'm supposed to be some kind of chosen one? That's crazy, Lyra smiled faintly. It is destiny. Not choice, he sighed and looked at the horizon. The thin Martian sun barely visible through the dust. Destiny's overrated, he muttered. I just want to fix machines and survive. She studied him quietly. And yet you saved me, you defied your own laws. That is not the act of a man running from destiny. Ryan didn't know what to say, so he busied himself with repairing her oxygen regulator. But deep inside, he knew she was right. Something about this entire thing felt larger than anything he had known before. A sudden tremor shook the ground, dust falling from the ceiling. Ryan jumped up, grabbing his plasma cutter. Drones again? Lyra shook her head, her expression sharp. No. Something older. The walls of the shelter vibrated, and faint blue lights began to appear across the surface, forming strange circular symbols. Lyra stood, weak, but alert, and touched one of them. The wall split open, revealing a hidden staircase leading down into the rock. Ryan stared. "You've got to be kidding me." She looked back at him. "The ruins beneath this ridge. They are older than both our species. My ancestors built them as a refuge." Come, without waiting. She started down the stairs. Ryan followed, his instincts screaming danger but curiosity pushing him forward. The deeper they went, the warmer it became, and the light from Lyra's skin seemed to respond to the walls around her. They entered a vast underground hall lined with stone pillars and glowing glyphs. In the center stood a massive structure shaped like a heart made of crystal, pulsing faintly with light. "What is this place?" Ryan whispered, Lyra's eyes filled with awe. "It is the Nexus of Sirath, the place where my people once joined their energy with the cosmos. Before the war, before we lost our way." She approached the heart, her hand hovering over it. "This is what Korvac seeks. The core can grant control over life and death. Over entire worlds," Ryan frowned. "And if he gets it, then both our races will burn," she said quietly. Ryan ran his hand through his hair, pacing. "So we have to destroy it?" Lyra looked at him, her expression torn. "If it dies, so does my bloodline. The core is linked to my life. It will kill me." Ryan froze, his eyes widening. "That's not an option," she smiled sadly. "You are human. You think everything can be saved?" Before he could answer, a loud explosion echoed through the tunnels. The ground shook violently. Ryan turned to see dust falling from the ceiling. Then the sound of heavy boots filled the chamber. Red lights flickered down the staircase. "They found us," Ryan hissed, grabbing his plasma cutter. Lyra stood tall despite her weakness, her glow brightening. "No more running," she said softly. Korvac's voice boomed through the chamber. "You cannot hide from destiny, niece." He stepped into the room, surrounded by armored Sarath soldiers, their weapons glowing red. The general's armor shimmered black with streaks of crimson. His face hard and cold, Ryan stepped in front of Lyra. "You'll have to go through me first," Korvac laughed. "A human standing before the royal bloodline, how pathetic," Ryan smirked. "You'd be surprised what humans can do." Korvac raised his arm, and energy bolts shot across the room. Ryan dove behind a pillar, firing back with his plasma cutter. The chamber lit up with flashes of red and blue. The heart of Sarath pulsed faster. Reacting to the chaos, Lyra raised her hands, glowing lines spreading across her skin. "Enough!" she shouted. A wave of energy exploded from her body, knocking several soldiers back, the air filled with blue mist. Korvac staggered but smiled. "You still have strength. That makes this easier." He pointed his weapon at her. "Your power belongs to me." Ryan jumped forward, smashing a power cell into Korvac's armor. Sparks burst. Korvac roared, striking Ryan across the face. Ryan hit the ground hard, his weapon sliding away. "Ryan!" Lyra cried out, but Korvac moved toward her. Grabbing her throat, her glow flickered as she struggled. Ryan, bleeding and dazed, saw the fallen plasma cutter sparking near his hand. He crawled forward, ignoring the pain, grabbed it, and fired at the ceiling. The shot hit one of the crystal supports, causing a beam to collapse onto the soldiers. The explosion shook the room. Lyra broke free and reached for the heart. Her hands touched the surface, and the light surged around her. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "You will not take this world," Korvac roared and lunged at her. But Ryan tackled him mid-air, the two crashing near the edge of the pit surrounding the core. Ryan's arm burned where Korvac's armor touched his skin. Lyra's power burst outward, flooding the entire room with white-blue light. The energy threw everyone back, and the ruins trembled like a living being waking from sleep. Korvac stumbled to his feet, retreating, his armor cracked and smoking. "This isn't over," he growled before vanishing in a beam of red light with his remaining soldiers. The chamber went silent, dust falling slowly. Ryan lay on the floor, gasping. He turned to see Lyra kneeling beside the crystal heart, her glow fading. "You did it," he whispered. She shook her head weakly. "No, I only delayed him. The war will come, and you, Starborn, must be ready." Ryan looked at her, tired but fierce. "Then we'll face it together." Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes closing. "Together," she whispered before falling unconscious once more. Ryan sat beside her in the quiet glow of the ancient heart, not realizing that far above them in the cold Martian sky, a massive Sarath warship was already descending, searching for the princess and the human who dared to protect her. The night sky above Mars was no longer silent. A deep hum rolled through the thin atmosphere as Serath ships broke orbit, their red lights cutting across the horizon like burning scars. Ryan watched from the rocky ridge, his jaw tight. He knew what it meant. Korvac was back. And this time he wasn't hiding behind him. In the old ruin chamber, Lyra was waking. Her breathing was weak, but her glow had returned slightly. Ryan knelt beside her, checking the breather mask. "We've got company," he said quietly. "Big ones." Lyra opened her eyes, silver and soft, but full of fear. "Korvac will burn everything to reach me," she whispered. "He believes killing me will make him king." Ryan looked down at her. "Then we make sure that doesn't happen." She shook her head. "You do not understand. His army is vast. His warship could destroy this entire colony." Ryan gave a half smile. "Yeah, but I don't plan to let him get that far." He stood up, walking toward his workshop area in the corner of the ruins. Bits of metal, old mining gear, and energy cells lay scattered everywhere. He started working fast, welding, connecting, building. Lyra watched him with confusion. "What are you doing?" "Setting traps," Ryan said, sparks flashing as he worked. "If your uncle wants a fight, I'll give him one." Her voice trembled slightly. "You would risk your life for me?" He didn't look up. "I already did twice. I'm not stopping now." She was silent for a moment, then said softly, "No Serath would ever fight for another's life like this." "You truly are different," Ryan smirked. "Guess humans still have a few surprises outside." Thunder rolled again. Not from the sky, but from the engines of Serath landing crafts. Ryan could feel the vibration under his boots. He loaded the last of his plasma charges into the floor traps and armed the motion sensors. The ground shook, and moments later the first squad of Serath soldiers entered the outer tunnels. Their red armor glowed like molten steel. Ryan waited in the shadows, holding his plasma cutter close. When the first soldier stepped on the trigger plate, the tunnel exploded. Rocks and fire filled the passage. The others shouted in their alien tongue, confusion spreading. Ryan used the chaos to shoot the support beams, collapsing half the entrance. He ran back toward the inner chamber, shouting, "They're coming in from the north tunnel, Lyra, get ready." Lyra stood near the crystal heart, her hands glowing. "I will protect the Nexus," she said, her voice stronger now. Ryan turned just as a massive shadow filled the entrance. Korvac stepped through the smoke. His armor scorched but intact, his eyes burned like fire. "You think you can stop me, human?" Ryan pointed his cutter. "I don't think." "I know," Korvac smiled cruelly. "You will die screaming." He raised his weapon and fired. The energy blast tore through the air. Ryan dodged behind a pillar, firing back. The chamber filled with light and sound. Lyra raised her arms, summoning a barrier of blue energy that blocked the next attack. The power surged from her hands, glowing brighter than before. The very air shimmered, Korvac sneered. "You would use your mother's gift to defend a human? You shame our name." Lyra's eyes flashed. "Our name died when you betrayed her." She unleashed a burst of energy that struck Korvac square in the chest. He stumbled back, his armor cracking. But he laughed. "You cannot kill me, niece. My blood is the same as yours." Ryan jumped onto a ledge above, throwing an explosive charge at the ceiling. "Good thing I'm not family," he shouted. The blast dropped a massive slab of rock onto Korvac's soldiers. Scattering them, Korvac roared, tearing the debris away. "Enough!" He raised both arms, dark red lightning shooting toward Ryan. It struck him in the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain exploded through his body. "Ryan!" Lyra screamed. She ran to him, kneeling beside his motionless body. Her tears glowed as they touched his skin. "You cannot die." "Starborn?" Korvac laughed, limping forward. "So this is the great Starborn, a weak mortal fool." Lyra looked up at him, fury in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "He is more than you'll ever be." She pressed her hand to Ryan's chest, light pouring from her palm. Her energy flowed into him. Her glow dimmed as his heartbeat returned. Ryan gasped and opened his eyes. "That hurt," he muttered. Lyra smiled faintly. "Welcome back." But the effort had weakened her badly. Her glow flickered and Korvac saw it. He raised his blade, ready to strike. Ryan rolled aside, grabbing the last plasma grenade from his belt. "Hey, metal face!" he shouted. "Catch!" He threw it straight at Korvac's chest. The explosion lit up the chamber like lightning. The general screamed, armor shattering, and fell backward into the pit near the Nexus core. His voice echoed as he vanished into the glowing abyss. Silence filled the ruins. Only the crackle of fire and hum of alien energy remained. Ryan coughed and pulled himself up. "Is he dead?" Lyra looked down at the pit, her expression grim. No one truly dies near the heart, but he is gone. For now, Ryan groaned. Good enough. He turned to her, seeing how she'd become. You used too much energy. She smiled softly. I gave you what strength I could. You are the Starborn now. He frowned. I don't want that title. She touched his cheek gently. It is not a title, Ryan. It is who you are. You carry both light and will, the bridge between our worlds. He felt her hand tremble and caught it before she fell. Hey, stay with me, he said quickly. We're not done yet. Her eyes fluttered. No, not yet, she whispered. But the war has just begun. Outside, through the cracks of the ruined ceiling, they could see the Sarath warship hovering in the sky. Its red glow spreading across the horizon. Ryan held Lyra close, the light of the Nexus reflecting in her eyes. He didn't know how they would fight an army, but one thing was clear: he wouldn't run. Not anymore. Somewhere deep in the pit below, a faint red glow pulsed again, and a broken voice whispered through the darkness. You cannot kill a shadow, Starborn. I will return. Ryan heard it faintly and clenched his fists. Then I'll be waiting, he muttered as the light of the Nexus bathed them both in blue fire, readying them for the war that was yet to come. The ground trembled again before sunrise. Ryan sat beside Lyra, watching her rest near the glowing crystal heart. Her breathing was soft, her glow dim. She had given too much of her energy to save him, and now her body was weak. Outside, thunder rumbled, not the sound of a storm, but the heavy roar of Sarath engines circling above. Ryan tightened the straps on his suit, his jaw hard. He had patched the shoulder wound with scraps of metal, but pain still burned under his skin. He wasn't a soldier, but after everything that had happened, he felt like one now. Lyra stirred, opening her silver eyes slowly. He will return, she whispered. Her voice was quiet but filled with certainty. Korvac never accepts defeat, Ryan nodded. Then we make sure he has nothing to come back for. She tried to sit up, but her legs trembled. He moved quickly to help her. You need to rest, he said, but she shook her head. I cannot rest while he hunts us, she said, her voice trembling. If Korvac finds the Nexus again, he will use it to destroy both our species. You must stop him, Ryan. Ryan frowned. You mean we must stop him? Lyra gave a faint smile. You humans, always so stubborn. A loud explosion cut their words short. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Ryan could hear the sound of engines outside. He ran to the entrance and looked up through the cracks in the rocks. His eyes widened. A Sarath warship was descending from orbit, its red engines lighting up the sky like a second sun. Thousands of smaller ships surrounded it, drones and carriers. Their leader had returned, stronger than ever. Ryan turned back to Lyra. We have to move now. She stood weakly, leaning on the wall for balance. Where will we go? To the hangar, Ryan said. There's an old mining transport I can turn into a ship. It's risky, but it's all we've got. They moved through the tunnels, the ground shaking with every explosion from above. The ruins that once glowed with calm blue light now flickered nervously, as if they sensed the danger too. Ryan helped Lyra climb through a narrow passage leading to the hangar. The old doors creaked open to reveal a massive metal chamber filled with rusted machinery and one battered transport craft. He smiled faintly. She's ugly, but she flies. Lyra looked at the ship, her eyes glowing softly. You humans build such strange things, yet they endure. Ryan started the engines, the sound filling the room with life. Endurance is kind of our thing, he said, trying to sound confident. The ship lifted slightly, dust swirling beneath it. Lyra sat beside him in the co-pilot seat, her hand shaking as she adjusted the breathing device. Ryan, she said quietly, if I do not survive this. He cut her off. Don't say that, you're going to live. I didn't come this far to lose you now. She looked at him with a faint, sad smile. You speak like one of my kind. Starborn. The roof above them shattered suddenly, debris falling as a beam of red light cut through the hangar. The warship had locked onto them. Ryan pulled the controls hard. Hold on! The mining ship blasted out of the hangar just as the floor exploded behind them. The engine screamed as they shot into the thin Martian sky. Red sand spinning in a storm below, through the cockpit glass. Ryan saw the massive Sarath battleship looming ahead. It was easily a mile long, its hull covered in glowing red lines that pulsed like veins. The sight made his chest tighten. They're going to vaporize us, Ryan muttered. Lyra leaned forward weakly. No, I can stop them. If you can get us close enough, he stared at her. What do you mean, stop them? She looked into his eyes. The Serath heart still answers to royal blood. I can shut down their weapons, but it will drain the last of my power. Ryan shook his head. No, there has to be another way. There isn't, she said softly. You are the Starborn. You carry the light of both worlds now. But I am still bound to mine. The radio suddenly crackled. Korvac's voice echoing through the speakers, deep and cruel. Run, little human, run until the stars fade. You cannot save her. Ryan's grip tightened on the controls. Watch me, he growled. He pushed the engines to maximum. The small ship shaking as they raced toward the warship. Plasma fire exploded around them. Red bolts tearing through the sky. Ryan dodged and weaved through the chaos, adrenaline burning through his veins. Lyra closed her eyes, whispering something in her language. The air around her began to glow, light forming patterns on her skin. The glow grew stronger with every breath. Ryan looked at her. Lyra, you're burning up. She smiled softly. This is who I am. The warship loomed ahead, its central cannon charging with a dark red light. Ryan grit his teeth. Almost there, he shouted. The mining ship dove under the main hull, scraping metal as it passed through a narrow maintenance channel. Sparks flew, alarms screamed. Lyra placed her glowing hand on the ship's console. Now, she whispered. Her light spread through the controls. The metal of the ship turning bright blue. Energy burst outward from her body, connecting with the warship above. Korvac's voice roared through the radio. What are you doing? Lyra's voice echoed with power. Ending this. A surge of energy exploded across the Serath fleet. Blue lightning spread from ship to ship, disabling weapons and engines. The sky turned white with the flash. Ryan could feel the ship tearing apart from the overload. Lyra! He shouted, stop, you'll die. She turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. Promise me, Ryan. You will protect what remains. He reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. I promise. The light around her grew so intense that Ryan had to shield his eyes. The explosion that followed was silent. A wave of blue energy spreading across the horizon. The warship shattered into fragments, the smaller drones falling from the sky like dying stars. When Ryan opened his eyes again, the ship was falling, alarms blaring, smoke filling the cockpit. He struggled to regain control, but the engines were gone. He looked to his side. Lyra was slumped over, her glow gone, her body motionless. No, he whispered, shaking her gently. Come on. Stay with me. There was no answer. The ship crashed into the desert with a thunderous boom. Dust filled the air for miles. Ryan crawled out of the wreckage, coughing, his body covered in burns. He turned back and saw Lyra's body lying in the sand, peaceful, almost asleep. He knelt beside her, tears mixing with the dust. You did it, he whispered. You saved everyone. Above them, the sky cleared, and the red glow of the Serath fleet faded. For the first time in years, Mars was quiet. Ryan lifted her into his arms, looking up at the stars. I'll keep your promise, he said softly. Starborn or not, I'll finish what we started. And as the cold wind swept across the silent desert, a faint shimmer of blue light pulsed in Lyra's chest, just once before fading again, leaving Ryan with a single thought echoing in his mind. The red dawn rose over Mars like a silent witness to the war that had ended. The ground was still scorched from the crash, and smoke drifted slowly into the pale sky. Ryan stood among the wreckage. His body bruised and burned, his breathing was shallow, but his mind was focused on one thing, Lyra. She lay still in the sand, her skin no longer glowing. Her chest unmoving, Ryan knelt beside her, his hands trembling as he brushed the dust from her silver-blue face. You can't be gone, he whispered, his voice breaking. You said we'd finish this together. He checked for a pulse again, hoping for a miracle, but there was nothing, only silence. The wind blew softly across the desert, carrying the faint scent of burned metal. Ryan sat back, exhausted. Staring at the endless horizon, he looked around. Pieces of the destroyed Serath warship lay scattered for miles, smoke rising like ghosts. The sky, once filled with enemy ships, was now empty. She had saved everyone. But the cost was her life. Ryan clenched his fists, anger and sorrow burning inside him. He wanted to scream, but his throat was too dry. He looked at the breather mask still hanging around her neck and gently removed it, placing it beside her. You don't need this anymore, he whispered. He remembered her words before the light took her. Promise me, protect what remains, he had promised. And now it was all he had left. He stood slowly, his legs shaking, and looked toward the distant colony. He could see faint lights flickering on the horizon. The humans in the colony had survived the blast, maybe even seen the destruction of the Serath fleet. He turned back to Lyra. "I'll keep your promise," he said softly, "but I'm not leaving you here." With all the strength he had left, he lifted her in his arms. Her body was light, almost weightless, as if part of her was already gone. He carried her across the red dunes toward the colony. Every step heavy, every breath painful. The sun climbed higher as he walked, and by the time he reached the outskirts of the human zone, his body was shaking from exhaustion. The automated gates recognized his ID and opened with a hiss. The guards stared as he entered, carrying the lifeless alien princess in his arms. One of them, an officer named Hale, stepped forward. "Ryan, what in God's name happened out there?" Ryan looked at him, eyes hollow. "We were attacked by the Serath fleet. They're gone now." Hale frowned. "Gone? How?" Ryan looked down at Lyra, her peaceful face glowing faintly under the sun. "She saved us," he said simply. They cleared a space in the medical bay where Ryan placed her on a clean bed. The medics scanned her body but shook their heads. "No life signs. She's gone," one of them said quietly. Ryan stayed by her side, refusing to leave. He didn't eat or sleep for hours. He just sat there staring at her, remembering every word, every smile, every moment they had shared as night fell again. He noticed something strange. The blue veins on her skin flickered faintly. Like a pulse, he leaned closer, his heart skipping. "Lyra?" he whispered. A soft hum filled the room, the same sound he had heard the first night he found her. Her body began to glow faintly, her chest rising just once. Then her eyes opened, silver and bright as the stars. Ryan froze, disbelief on his face. "You're alive!" Lyra blinked slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "I told you. Starborn light never dies," Ryan laughed weakly, tears in his eyes. "You scared me half to death," she smiled faintly. "I was not sure I would return. The Corps took everything, but your promise called me back." He helped her sit up carefully. "You did it? You stopped them? You saved both our worlds." Lyra looked out the window at the dark sky. "The war is not over. Korvac lives in shadow. His followers will come again," Ryan sighed. "Then we'll be ready next time." She turned to him, her expression soft. "You speak as if you are one of us now." He smiled. "Maybe I am. Maybe humans and Serath aren't so different after all." For a moment there was peace. Lyra reached out, touching his hand. "When I first saw you, I thought humans were weak, foolish, violent. But you showed me something greater, hope." Ryan looked into her eyes. "And you showed me something worth fighting for." They sat in silence for a while, the quiet hum of machines filling the room. Then the door opened and Commander Hale stepped in. "Ryan, you need to see this." Ryan and Lyra followed him outside. The night sky above the colony shimmered with light, thousands of tiny blue sparks drifting down like fireflies. The remains of the Serath ships were dissolving into dust, forming a glowing ring around Mars. Lyra's eyes widened. "It is the beacon of renewal," she whispered. "A sign that balance has been restored." The colonists gathered, watching in awe as the lights danced across the sky. For the first time, humans saw the beauty of Serath power. Not as a weapon, but as a gift. Ryan stood beside Lyra, feeling a strange warmth inside. "You know," he said softly, "that looks almost like home." Lyra looked at him, smiling gently. "Perhaps it is." Days passed, and the colony began to rebuild. Lyra stayed hidden for a while, helping Ryan repair the systems and heal the wounded. She wore a cloak to hide her glowing skin. But those who saw her whispered stories of the silver spirit of Mars. Ryan laughed whenever he heard it. "Spirit, huh? You're more stubborn than any spirit I've met," Lyra smiled. "And you, human, are impossible." They worked together side by side, and slowly peace returned to the colony. The humans began to understand that not all aliens were enemies, and the Serath who survived the battle sent word from distant space. They would honor the peace Lyra had earned. One night, Ryan and Lyra stood on the ridge where it had all begun. The stars above shone brighter than ever. Lyra looked at the sky and said, "Do you think your people will ever forgive mine?" Ryan looked at her. "Maybe not today. But someday," he said, "and until then, we'll keep trying." She turned to him, her silver eyes glowing softly. Then the prophecy was true. The Starborn has risen, he laughed quietly. I still think that name sounds crazy, Lyra smiled. And yet it suits you. They stood together in silence. Watching the stars, the cold wind brushed past them, but it felt calm, peaceful. For the first time in his life, Ryan felt like he belonged, not to Earth, not to Mars, but to something greater. He looked at Lyra and said softly, "You know, when I found you, I thought you were just a dying animal." She laughed gently. "And now?" He smiled. "Now I know you were the reason I was meant to be here." The stars reflected in her eyes as she whispered, "And you, Ryan Cross, were the reason I learned what humanity truly means." As the two stood beneath the endless sky, a single beam of blue light rose from the ruins behind them, reaching into the heavens, a sign that the Starborn had fulfilled his purpose. And somewhere in the distance, among the stars, the echo of Lyra's words lingered. The light never dies.